Put it up here.
Good? I feel like with a group this size, it feels a little overly formal to be up on the podium. Is that okay? Can we just relax and be ourselves? Thank you all very much for coming to this session. I'm always feeling sorry for audiences when they have to choose one of concurrent sessions, because I look as a speaker at who the other lineup is, who am I up against, and the other topics, and they're always really good. I mean, they're really relevant to your business, and that's why you're here. And I always feel sorry for you because you can only be in one place at a time, so you can only choose one session, and you have to make a tough choice. So thank you for choosing this one. I think you totally made the right choice. That's just me. Yeah. So I want to start by saying, again, that the fact that you're here tells me something about you, and whether you are dealing with a growing Hispanic market around you, trying to tap into Gen Y, boomers, women, gay and lesbian, it doesn't matter. Everybody is not like you, right? Everybody is not like you. And increasingly, the consumer market is, from a marketing and sales standpoint, more fragmented, and you have to become a more refined marketer in order to tap into someone who's not like you. Now, I will tell you, too, that I will never know what it's like to be a guy. And I do not know what it's like to be Black, Hispanic, Asian, or Native American. I don't know what it's like to be a mom. I don't know what it's like to live in a rural community on a ranch in West Texas. And I don't know what it's like to be in the military. Okay, so these are just all things I don't know. And I will never know those things. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't meaningfully connect with someone who is any of those. I don't have to be those things in order to market effectively to someone who is not like me. The principles of marketing are always the same, and that's what I'm going to review with you today. And Liz indicated that you don't have to take any notes. You're going to get this entire presentation. Every single slide that I'm going to show you is available to you. So you can just kick back and drink your Baileys and coffee that you have there. Yeah. You know she's got it, right? So can we also just agree, just from a ground rule standpoint, that we can just, because, again, this is a really nice-sized group. I mean, I can't take questions randomly from a group of 500 people. It just gets out of control. But with a group this size, if I'm covering something and you have a question, or you're like, can you go back? I didn't get that. Just tell me, okay? And we'll just keep this kind of informal. Is that cool? Except for him, Rob. Yeah, this is the guy that was in my... How many people were in my session yesterday on selling boats to women? Yeah, do you remember this guy here, Rob, in the front? He's back, okay? I'm just telling you, he's back and he's in the front again. This guy was heckling me. I swear to God, he thought it was an interactive exercise the whole time. He's blurting things out. I'm like, do you have Tourette's syndrome? Again, that's somebody not like me. So, whatever. All right. So we're going to talk about how to market to people not like you or Rob. We've all heard the expression that America is a melting pot, right? We've all heard that expression, America's a melting pot. Well, we're actually not a melting pot anymore, and we are never going to be a melting pot again. We're a salad bowl. Let me explain. America as a melting pot is an expression that was coined in the early 1900s to describe what was happening to the United States relative to immigration. We had a huge wave of immigrants from all over the world, but particularly from Europe, Ireland, Italy, Poland, Germany. Many of your ancestors and mine came through Ellis Island, got processed as new arrivals, and the idea was that no matter who you were, where you were from, we threw you into one pot, and we sort of simmered away the differences, because that's what was valued, was sameness. And everybody kind of came out Americanized, right? One culture, one homogenous society, everybody being the same, preferably speaking one language. That's what we valued. Well, today, what most businesses, society, and organizations value is diversity. We don't all have to look the same, be the same, dress the same, or come from the same backgrounds, especially to contribute to business. So when you look at a salad, there's not one single element of a salad that can be mistaken for anything else. The tomato does not look like the radish. The radish does not look like the cucumber. The cucumber does not look like the avocado, and so on. Every element of a salad is distinctive and can be seen for what it is. And most of us would agree that the more and different stuff you put into a salad, the better the salad gets. Right? And that concludes my presentation. Thank you. You're high-level people. You get it, right? Now, I'm a big fan of the census, and I think that you should be a fan of the census, too. And I know in Canada you have your own census. This is the U.S. Census. I know we've got some Canadians here. But, we as taxpayers paid for this. This is ours, okay? I paid for it. You paid for it. Anybody who pays taxes. This is a gift that comes once a decade. Only once every 10 years do we count up every single person in this country, and we get a pretty clear snapshot of what our country looks like. So I don't know how you can serve your community if you don't know what your community looks like. And I promise you that no matter where you live and work, in Canada or the United States, doesn't matter. I can say this anywhere with 100% certainty. Doesn't matter where you live and work, I promise you that your community today does not look anything like it looked 10 years ago. And 10 years from now, it's not going to look anything like it looks today. I believe that you are duty-bound as business professionals. This is your duty, not just your job, but your duty, to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on out there. That's your job. So I believe that you should make yourself familiar with the basic findings of the census. So for the next 6 hours, I'll be taking you through the census point by point by point. Now, I'm going to take you through a couple of things that might be eye-opening, though. In the United States, 1 in 3 people now in the United States is not white. 1 in 3. Now, this is a national stat. So places like California, Arizona, Florida, New York, Texas are way more diverse than, let's say, Maine, Idaho, Vermont, okay? But nevertheless, 1 in 3 people in the United States is not white. The census has actually been tracking this thing called diversity with the diversity index, too. The diversity index is actually quite simple. All it means is if I grab any 2 people at random anywhere in the United States, what's the likelihood that those 2 people will be of different races or ethnicities? That's all it means. So back in 1980, if I grabbed any 2 people at random anywhere in the country, I had a 34% probability that those 2 people were going to be of different races or ethnicities. Or in other words, there was a 66% probability that they were going to be of the same race, that being white, because white is the predominant race in the United States. But look how fast it's changed. In just 3 decades, we've gone from a 34% probability to a 52% probability. Today, it is statistically more likely that any 2 people selected at random anywhere in the United States are actually going to be of different races or ethnicities than the same. Now, the cool thing about this diversity index, you might be going, oh, that's a fun fact, but, so what? Well, it's available not only on a national level, it's available on a state level, a county level, and a local level for every single market in the United States. So I pulled Florida's diversity index to show you how this goes. In Florida, the diversity index is 59. So as you can see, that's more diverse than the nation as a whole. This should not come as a surprise to anybody, right? So what that means is that if I grab any 2 people at random in the state of Florida, I have a 59% shot that those 2 people are going to be of different races or ethnicities. You with me? All right. So let me show you where to get this data, because you're probably not selling nationally unless you're the manufacturer, right? If you're a boat dealer, then you're selling locally. Possibly regionally, but you're going to really care about your footprint. So where do you get this information for your backyard? Let me tell you where not to go. Don't go to uscensus.gov unless you want to make yourself certifiably insane. Because only our government could take that information and make it as impossible to get to, okay? It's all there, but it'll drive you nuts. It's not very user-friendly. I think a better place to get this data is actually at usatoday.com. And again, you don't have to write this down. I see you all grabbing your pens and stuff, and maybe you're just too eager to get the handouts. But this is all going to be there in the handouts. USA Today is a terrible newspaper, okay? It's a terrible newspaper, right? Nobody reads USA Today for depth, right? But what they are good at and why they survive, what they're really good at is giving you a quick snapshot of what's going on in a very graphically pleasing way, right? They're really good at the little charts and the graphs and the graphically pleasing pictures and all that. So it's very easy for you to skim USA Today and kind of get a quick overview of what's going on out there. So they've done the same thing with the census data. They took the census data and they basically reformatted it in a way that you and I can actually use, all right? So what you can find is the diversity index for every single county and every single city in the United States, as well as some things like population density and racial and ethnic composition and so on. Now, I'm a big believer that a picture's worth 1,000 words, so let me share with you how you read this. I'm going to walk over here, so I'm going to turn the mic off because otherwise it's going to blow your... In the safe zone? All right, we're good. Seriously, I did this yesterday. I walked in front of that speaker and it just blew everybody's ears out. Try not to do that. Okay, so this is a screenshot. When you go to the website that I just told you to go to, you can see here Florida counties, okay? See the gray area out here to the left where it says states? That's where I got the state diversity index of Florida for 59. If I wanted to drill down a little bit closer to a specific locality, Boca Raton, Palm Springs, Beach, thank you. Palm something. You can see that I can pick Florida locations, but I just pick counties, okay, for our illustration here. So you can see here that this is an alphabetized list of all the counties, and it goes on and on and on. And you can see here that I pull down from this, I pull down the race box, and I get the racial composition of all of the counties in alphabetic order. But that still doesn't give me the diversity index. Where do I get that? Well, if I go to the same place, but instead of choosing race, I choose ethnicity, then Shazam. That's where I get the diversity index. Shazam, all right? This guy's like, I got that, yeah. So here's why this is important. If you're in Dixie County, you have a diversity index of 24. So that means that any two people selected at random in Dixie County, you've got a 24% shot that those two people are going to be of different races or ethnicities. That's not very diverse. I would say that's pretty darn different than Broward County, right, at 68. I mean, there's no surprises here, especially for those of you in Florida, right? But is this not helpful? And it's free, and you paid for it as taxpayers to make yourself familiar with this kind of information. Because if you had a footprint that was multi-county, then you could say, you know what? We don't really need to concentrate our efforts in Dixie County. There's not much diversity there, right? It's 86% white, 87% white. Or Gilchrist, right? 22%. Maybe we need to be focusing more on Gadsden County or Broward or, you know, whatever. How do I say that? Anybody? Whatever. So do you see how to use this? And you see how easy? Oh, no, actually, that's a really good question. He just said, does it show more because if you scroll to the right, because it's only showing Hispanic and non-Hispanic? Excellent question. Let me take 2 seconds to educate you on this. On the previous slide, I showed you this, the racial and ethnic composition, right? So you can see here, percent white, percent black, percent Native American Indian, percent Asian, and percent Native Hawaiian. Those are the only races, folks. There's only 5 races in the whole world. Everybody on this globe is one of 5 races: white, black, Asian, Native American, or Pacific Islander. Those are the only 5 races. Everything else is in ethnicity. So Hispanic is not a race, it's an ethnicity. You can be white and Hispanic, you can be black and Hispanic, okay? Or if you're Indian, by that I mean from India, then your race is Asian, but your ethnicity is Indian. So what it's doing here is it's showing, since I pulled down the race box, it's showing you who the races are, what the racial composition. That's why when we went here, I had to go to ethnicity, bam, to get Hispanic. So let me give you a quick example. Most Hispanics are white. It's possible to be black and Hispanic too. Think about Dominicans. If you're from the Dominican Republic, then you're black and you're also Hispanic. But most Hispanics are white. So for example, I'll take Baker County. In Baker County, it's 83% white, okay? But in Baker County here, it's also showing that it is 2% Hispanic and 82% white. So in other words, it's 83% white. That's the race. 83% of the people are of the white race in Baker County. But of that 83% that are white, 1.9% of them are Hispanic. So they are white and Hispanic. Does that make sense? Okay. Hispanic is not a race, it's an ethnicity. That guy gets $1 million for that question. That was an awesome question. All right. Now, in 4 states, plus the District of Columbia, we already have what is called a minority-majority population. And that is exactly what the name sounds like. When you add all minority groups up together, African American, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, black, etc., you have a population that is larger collectively than the white population. And that is already the case in Texas, California, Hawaii, New Mexico, and in D.C. But as we look at children, people under the age of 18, that list of 4 states grows to a list of 10. Meaning that the younger you go in this country, the more diverse the population is getting. How many of you have children, any kind of children in school? I don't care if they're grade school, kindergarten, middle school, high school, college. Have you looked at the student body of the schools that your kids go to? It's pretty darn diverse. And I don't care where you live, right? It's not necessarily a white student body. The younger you go in this country, the more diverse the population gets. So the reason I think you guys are so smart for coming to this session is not only is this going to help you in your businesses today, but as you have people who become boat owners or prospective boat owners in the future, those kids grow up, right? And you're going to need to be prepared for a changing, diverse market. I highlighted Florida just because that's where we are here, but you can see, in my opinion, this is a list that starts to pick up some pretty non-traditional diverse markets. Like, I never used to think of Nevada as a particularly diverse state. It is now. The composition of Nevada has changed dramatically in the last 15 years. It's 37% Hispanic in Nevada. 37%. Most of that's in Vegas, but not all of it. Now, I do not like the word diversity. I try not to use it. That's why I call this session How to Market to People Not Like You. Because I believe that when you say diversity, the D word, most people sort of default to racial and ethnic diversity, and that's super important, and we're going to talk about that. But that is not the only way that we can be diverse. I started this session by saying, I don't know what it's like to be, a guy. I don't know what it's like to be a mom. I don't know what it's like to be in the military. I don't know what it's like to live on a ranch in West Texas. My definition of diversity is any way you can be different from me, right? So, you're a woman, and I'm a woman. I know I'm older than you, but let's just pretend that we're the same age, okay? Let's pretend we're the same age. We're both women, we're both white. We could live in the same zip code, we could be the same age, we could make the same household income, and by all of those demographic standards, we would look the same on paper, right? But do you have kids? If you've got kids and I don't, we're going to be different. In every meaningful way, really. No, really, I mean, we're really going to be different. The pressures and priorities that she has are going to be totally different than someone like me, right? She's going to make decisions very differently based on the needs of her family and what's good for her child and all this. That has nothing to do with race or ethnicity. It has to do with parenthood versus not parenthood, right? I was doing this presentation one time, and there was somebody like Rob thinking it was an interactive exercise or whatever. Anyway, she blurts out, she goes, I got one for your list. I said, what's that? And she goes, pet owners. I'm like, totally pet owners. Pet owners are totally different than non-pet owners, right? Pet owners are a cult. And then I was doing the same presentation, and after she said that, this guy goes, here's another one, gun owners. And I'm like, you're right, gun owners, very different than non-gun owners. I mean, the list goes on and on. Any way that you can be different from somebody is my definition of diversity. So here's my list. Your list could look different. Starts with gender, right? Men are different from women, and it really is true. Women use something like 20,000 more words a day than men. I mean, seriously, we do. We're like way more verbal, My husband would be like, for you, Kelly, it's 60,000, So we're way more verbal. We're way more emotive and demonstrative. We're much more likely to show our feelings. We're much more likely to hug and kiss and express when we're happy or when we're not happy. What about religious differences? That's a way we can be different from one another. Political views, that's a way we can be different. Age and generational differences, right? No doubt that somebody who's a boomer or a senior is very different than somebody who's Gen Y. What about the gay and lesbian market? Physical abilities, mental abilities, emotional abilities, rural versus metro, right? Who would know this better than you guys? Somebody who lives, in a loft in Miami downtown is very different than someone who lives, again, in a rural community. Military, civilian, I've already talked about that. And again, here are the 5 races, and that's it. Everybody on the globe falls into one of these. And then there's, again, different ethnic or linguistic differences, Hispanic, Indian, etc. What about nativity? I think somebody who's foreign-born would look at the world and the U.S. with a very different lens than someone who's U.S.-born. And life stage. A new mom or a new dad is in a totally different place than someone who's an empty nester, a retiree, or a college student. And again, who would know this better than people in your industry, right? Because people who, as they get older, have more disposable income, they have more time to enjoy a boat, etc. Lifestyle and affluence, that's clear. The working poor are very different from the middle class, who are different from the wealthy. Even core values, though. If you take that plastic bottle of water when you're finished drinking it and you throw it into the recycling bin, that tells me something about you. That's a simple action that you're taking, but it tells me something about what you value. That maybe you want to leave a smaller footprint, you're just doing your part, whatever. It's a little thing, but it speaks to your values, okay? So someone who homeschools their child is different than someone who does not. Very different. Someone who's a hardcore vegan or vegetarian, those can be reflections of their values. The point is, there's no more Joe Consumer. This is not a picture of this guy, Peter Francese. This is a picture of me going to Google Images and putting in what Joe Consumer looks like, a middle-aged white guy with facial hair. But this guy, I loved his comment here. He said, the concept of an average American is gone, and probably forever. I mean, again, go back to my salad bowl. Not coming back, folks. Gone forever. The average American has been replaced by a complex, multi-dimensional society that defies simplistic labeling. You can't just put people in a box and go, oh, they're like this. So, In the next 12 slides, I'm going to go through 12 strategies for marketing to people not like you. So how do you do this? Does this make sense so far? Are you guys getting where I'm going with this premise of anybody who's different from you is different from you? All right. Well, the first strategy is you got to be relevant. In marketing, we even have a joke about this, which you could have the greatest dog food in the world. It's the most premium dog food. It'll make your dog fly. And so consequently, it's really expensive. And once a year, you have it on sale. So you have the most amazing dog food at the most amazing price. That should be like a recipe for sales, right? Doesn't matter a hill of beans to me if I don't have a dog. Right? So you have to be relevant. Being relevant, what it boils down to is giving people what they want. And I know that sounds really simple, but that does not mean it's easy. Simple and easy are not the same thing. The simplest exercise in the world is the push-up. You lay on the ground and you push yourself up. You can do it anywhere. You don't need any special gear. You don't need any clothing. You don't need to belong to a gym to do it. You don't need to do it at a certain time of day. You don't need any equipment. You lay on the ground and you push yourself up. It doesn't get any simpler than that, but that doesn't mean doing a push-up is easy, right? So simple is not the same as easy. Sometimes the simplest things are actually the hardest things to do. So let me give you an example, Target versus Kmart. And I don't mean to be sexist, but I'm going to address this question to my sisters in the room. Ladies, we shop more, right? Do we all agree that Target rocks? Does anybody think that Kmart rocks? Okay. And it's not just us who feel that way, because Target is doing very, very well and is opening stores right and left all across the country, and Kmart is closing stores right and left all across the country. They are circling the drain, okay? Mark my words, they won't even be around in 5 years. They won't. They can't. So, as a marketing professional, I have looked at these two companies and I'm like, why do we all so passionately love Target? What is it that Target has? I mean, they sell a lot of the same stuff. If you want a Rubbermaid laundry basket, you can go get that at either one of these places, and they're probably priced within 5 cents of each other. So it's not like one of these companies has a price advantage. Why do we love Target so much? I believe that it's because Target figured out what we want and figured out how to give it to us. And what we want is not cheap stuff. What we want is style on a budget, right? Just because I'm on a budget doesn't mean I don't have good taste. Just because I'm on a budget doesn't mean I don't appreciate good design, right? So if you say to me, cute tank top, Kelly, I'm like, I know, $12, Target. I am bragging about how little I spent. Now imagine this, cute tank top, Kelly, I know, $12, Kmart. No, no way. It's got Kmart juice on it. I'm not going to brag about that, right? Because what style on a budget gives us is what I call value with dignity. You see, everybody wants to save money. I don't care how rich you are. Everybody likes to save money. Everybody likes a deal. But we don't want to be embarrassed about that, right? I don't want to be embarrassed about saving money. So that's what being high style is. It gives me value with dignity. I saved money, but it looks good. It doesn't look cheap. It looks cool, right? So they're relevant. And one of the things that you've got to do to be relevant is examine your infrastructure and ask yourself, seriously, are we set up to do business with somebody who's not like us? So for example, let's say you want to go after the Hispanic market. That's a noble goal. You're like, okay, I've got a growing Hispanic community in my area. I should tap into that. Well, that's great, but you don't just start marketing in Spanish if you don't have a salesperson who speaks Spanish or examining your hours and things like that. So let me give you an example. The Angelica Theater in Dallas, where I used to live, is an art movie house. If you're in the movie business, what's the deadest time of the week relative to revenue? Mornings. Even the senior citizens don't come out till the matinees, right? They come out for the afternoon matinees. But mornings is an opportunity. They have everything they need to have a movie, but they don't have an audience. They have the movie, they have the milk duds, they have the popcorn, they just don't have people. So they started thinking to themselves, who could go to a movie in the morning? Who could we get? And they thought, new moms. You know, if you're a new mom and you're a film lover, then you're still a film lover even though you have a baby. I mean, you haven't changed as a woman. It's just that now you have a baby. And if you're a new mom, then you're one of two things. You're either a stay-at-home mom or you're on maternity leave. Either way, you can come to a movie in the morning. But for a lot of these new moms, getting out of the house to go to a movie is really a hard time, you know, because they've got to figure out the childcare thing. And if they don't figure out the childcare thing and they take their little bundle of joy to the movie theater and the baby starts fussing, then everybody in the movie theater goes, shh, and hates them. So they just don't go. They literally don't go. It's like, you know, it's too much. So they thought, well, that's crazy. What if we created a mom-friendly environment? What if we created a place where moms could go? We'll call it the Crybaby Matinee. Crybaby Matinee is at 11 o'clock in the morning, timed for baby's first nap of the day. no men allowed so that women can breastfeed comfortably, baby changing area in the back so that if you have to change a diaper, you don't have to step out and miss 1 minute of the film. They bring the lights down low, but not totally dark, so that if you got to dig around in the diaper bag, you can find what you need. Oh, and you know what? If your little baby starts fussing, chances are the other moms are going to be pretty sympathetic, right? The one thing they didn't think about, because this place is packed, you know what? That's a brilliant strategy. The one thing they didn't think about, where do you put 300 badass strollers? Infrastructure. It's a brilliant strategy and so simple, right? So simple. Matinee for moms, okay? But these women come with their strollers. Of course they do. There's not a movie theater in the lobby that's big enough to hold all of that. So today, trial and error. Today they actually have the same thing, and they have a security guard outside the parking lot with a velvet roped off area that's for stroller parking, because these women come. Here's another one. Do you guys know the Container Store? Have you heard of the Container Store? So it is exactly what the name sounds like. Storage solutions for home, office, kitchen, garage, closet, you name it. Anything you want to store, they have storage solutions, okay? So they opened up a flagship store in New York City a couple years ago, and it was met with incredible fanfare, and I was like, I can't believe it even took them this long. What's the one thing that New Yorkers have none of? Space, right? It's a no-brainer. Give me storage solutions for my closet, my kitchen or whatever. Within the first 12 hours of being open, they realized that they'd made 2 terrible mistakes, and this is a smart company. The first mistake was people were buying things, and they'd say, can I have a bag with handles? Handles? None of our bags have handles. What do you need handles for? Because everywhere else that they sell stuff, people buy it and they walk out to their car and they put it in the car. But in New York, people don't have cars. They walk. And if you've ever walked carrying a package in your arms, it gets very heavy very quickly. But you can walk for miles with a bag with handles down here, okay? Then the second thing was people were buying stuff and they'd be like, can I just have it delivered? Delivered? What do you think we are? Domino's Pizza? We don't deliver. Well, again, if I buy Rob a birthday present, and it's a really, really, really big birthday present. I buy him a pony, whatever, okay? So I need a really big box to put that in. And they have that kind of stuff. They've got boxes this big. How am I going to get that sucker home? I can't even get it in a taxi, right? I'm not going to walk down the street with this big box. I'm just going to have it delivered. New Yorkers are totally comfortable paying $20 delivery on a $10 item. It's just part of their life. That's the way they live. But they didn't have a delivery system because they failed to realize, no matter how smart they were, they failed to realize how New Yorkers actually live. So if you are thinking about tapping into a new market, you've got to do your homework and actually figure out, are we really set up to do business with a new customer group that we've never done business with before? And that leads me to the third strategy, which is know your target. Okay, do your homework, and it's not that hard. The internet is your friend in this kind of case. Believe me, any question that you're wrestling with as a business person, there's answers out there, white papers that have been written, and research that's been done. So here's a bad example. There's a wireless company that I'm betting a third of you in this room have, so they shall remain nameless. And they approached my company a few years ago, and they said, we gotta get some help with the Hispanic market. We need to do a better job with that market. Can you help us? We did something in Miami a few years ago, and it just bombed. And I said, well, what did you do in Miami? And they said, well, we did this big Cinco de Mayo promotion in Miami, and it just bombed. And I'm like, well, Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican holiday, and Miami's mostly Cuban. Maybe the Cubans don't give a flip about the Mexican holidays. When was the last time that you showed up for some obscure holiday that's not yours, So they made a classic mistake of thinking it's one size fits all because it's in Spanish, and it's not. A better example is in San Francisco, Bank of America partnered with AT&T to tap into the huge Asian population that's in the Pacific Northwest. Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, largest Asian population that we have in the US. And these two companies don't compete in any way. So they did this kind of cool co-branding thing where if you opened up a new checking account at Bank of America, they gave you a calling card, a prepaid calling card that was preloaded with calls to Asia. Not Latin America, not Europe, Asia. Chances are you have loved ones in Asia. And if you were an AT&T customer, then you got free checking at Bank of America. So they fed each other customers, right? So their goal was to open 1,500 new accounts. They opened 22,000. How'd you like to be the person who's like, yeah, that was my idea. Yeah, just bring the bonus truck right up to my desk. Beep, beep. Yeah. Also, be respectful. If you're going to market to people who are not like you may encounter different people, different lifestyles, different ways of thinking than yours. You are not right. Everybody's right. Everybody's right. Everybody's entitled to their perspective. Everybody's entitled to live their lives. So this is an ad for Wells Fargo. You can probably see the little logo up here in the corner. And I love this ad because the financial services industry is not exactly cutting edge when it comes to diversity marketing. They're pretty conservative, okay? So let me tell you what I like about this ad. First of all, it features two guys grocery shopping, and it says, with you when two accounts become one. Clearly gay-targeted marketing. I love this ad because it's very respectful and it's clearly gay-targeted marketing. But it's not like they went, hey, gay guys, come open up a checking account at Wells Fargo. We got you, you know? No, they're talking about something that's far more respectful and, frankly, far more important in any relationship, gay or straight. And that is the moment when two accounts become one. Because that is a very significant moment in any relationship. You do not combine your finances with someone you're dating. You combine your finances with someone you're planning on building a life with. That is a very serious step in any relationship, not to be taken cavalierly. And they are making a nod to that very important step in a very respectful way. And then, of course, if you're going to do the gay marketing, you have to do the lesbian marketing as well. Here's the same ad featuring two women. Very respectful. But the other thing I want to say about this, or any other kind of diversity marketing effort, is don't ever do anything that is not sincere, and don't do anything that you can't deliver on. Let me give you an example of this. Make sure you can walk the walk. Because it's one thing to just like go, oh, we're like, we want your business. But it's another thing to make sure that all of your people and all of your infrastructure is behind this. Another ad in the financial services industry. This one is for Allstate. And you can see two guys walking down the street holding hands. And it says, being visible should never leave you feeling vulnerable. Well, that's cool. But what I really liked about this ad was right here. Everyone deserves to be in good hands, right? Because that's their slogan, right? You're in good hands with Allstate. But check this out. It says, with an Allstate agent, you can always be your true self. Now think about this. This is a huge national company, and I don't know how many tens of thousands of Allstate agents there are out there, but I think it's like 17,000. 17,000 independent agents out there selling Allstate. And they're saying, you can always be your true self with an Allstate agent. That's a pretty big stake to put in the ground, right? Because they can be doing gay-targeted marketing like this, but then you go into your Allstate agent, and Betty, the agent, is like this. Because she doesn't, she frowns on, same-sex partners or whatever. And it's like, wouldn't that be like false advertising? Wouldn't that literally be like confusing to someone who saw that, but then had an experience that didn't match up with that? All I'm saying is make sure that you can walk the walk. If you're going to market to people not like you, make sure you can actually deliver on a promise that big. I don't know how they launched something like that across 17,000 agents, but I give them props for doing it. Also, communicate on their terms. Their terms doesn't necessarily mean a different language. It can if you're talking to the Hispanic market or a Chinese market or Vietnamese or anything like that, then that's an important thing, and you should look at having language that can work with that customer in their language. But there's other things, too. There's other ways of having different language. Do any of you know this brand, Line-X? They do the spray and bed liners, right? So it's a chemical coatings company. Rhino is one of their competitors, all right? So they are a franchised organization. They have 3,500 Line-X dealers around the country. So working with them one time, we were looking at their Facebook page, and they have like 10,000 fans on Facebook. And for those of you who are doing any social media for your dealerships, you know what it takes to make 10,000 fans. A long time. That's a lot of fans. And they're not Hershey's chocolate, They're a chemical coatings company. Not the sexiest business in the world. So 10,000 fans is a big deal. So one day this guy writes on their Facebook page, hey, Line-X, I just moved to Wilmington, Delaware, and I was thinking about getting a chemical, my bed liner sprayed. Is there a dealer near me? That was his question. I just moved to Wilmington, Delaware. Is there a dealer near me? Now, if you go to Linex.com, their website, the first thing that you see, larger than life, smack in the middle of that screen is dealer locator. So this guy, by the time he actually posted his question on Facebook, he could have gone and gotten his own answer if he'd gone to their website. But my point is, he didn't go to their website. He went to Facebook. And you know and I know what was going on. This guy was probably just playing around goofing around on Facebook, right? He's spending a couple hours, on Facebook. All of a sudden it pops into his head, hey, bedliner. And he jumps on over to their Facebook page, and posts the question, right? He's just doing what he normally is. Facebook is becoming a search engine, just like Google or anything else. So you don't say to a guy like that who contacts you through Facebook, you don't go, hey, doofus, our entire dealer lineup is located on our website. You don't drive him someplace else if where he wants to be and where he reached out to communicate with us on Facebook. So they responded perfectly, and they said, Bob, thank you so much for your question. Yes, as a matter of fact, we do have a dealer in Wilmington, Delaware, and his address is at 1234 Main Street. And for anyone else looking for a dealer, you can find our complete listing of dealers at www.linex.com. So they answered his question, also broadening it or whatever. But my point is, if someone Facebooks you, you Facebook them back. If they call you, you call them back. If they show up in your dealership and they want to have an appointment, you sit down with them. If they email you, you email them back. If they tweet you, you tweet them back. There's about 8 ways that people can get in touch with you now. They are going to gravitate to the way that they prefer to be communicated with. And you need to respond to them in that way rather than making them respond to you in your way. If they text you, text them back. Right? And that goes to another thing, too, is don't ask people something unless you're going to deliver it. In terms of walking the walk, so many times we get consumer comments from people who say, they asked me if I wanted to be texted, and I said yes, and I gave them my mobile number, and then they emailed me. Don't ask the question if you're not set up to actually deliver that, you know? So you don't say, would you like to be emailed, called, or texted if, in fact, your system is just one thing. Also, use consumer insights. There's a lot of consumer insights out there that are available for free for you folks. I mean, again, if you've got any kind of a market that you want to tap into and you're like, I don't know enough about this market, what do I do? Use consumer insights that you can find and demonstrate cultural sensitivity. Be attuned to cultural differences and cultural nuances. So here's a couple of them. Women customers, I covered this yesterday in my session on how to sell more boats to women. Women want testimonials and customer reviews online. They spend a lot of time online, but specifically what they love is not only information, they love customer reviews and testimonials. So this is a low-cost, no-cost proposition. If you have happy, satisfied women customers, get a testimonial from them, even if you have to draft it yourself and then review it with them and say, is it okay if we say this? I know you feel this way. And women trust what other women say. So they're going to come across those reviews, and then they're going to put a lot of stock in what other women say. Also, in terms of selling to women, the truth can never hurt you. Women can handle the truth. Right, ladies? We can handle the truth. What we can't handle is the runaround. Don't lie to me. Don't misrepresent. Just tell me. I mean, if your product or service is not perfect, if it doesn't go 180 miles an hour on the water, that's okay. Just tell me. Right? Tell me what the limitations are. I can handle it. And women don't respond to pressure. Not that you guys would ever do that, but, again, women really like to process and ponder. So if you give us a lot of information, then just step back and let us kind of like go, okay, well, I have a follow-up question. We're going to work through it in our own way. And women value expansive choices. We are not overwhelmed when we are given lots of choices. Quite the opposite. We actually feel empowered. We can look at 176 different colors of blouses and be like, I want the tangerine one. And I know I want the tangerine one because I looked at all 176 and that's the one I want, right? Absolutely. Men, on the other hand, want their choices simplified. I'm sorry, you guys, but there's a reason why your clothes only come in 3 colors, okay? Black, navy, khaki. Seriously, look at you. That's what you got. Everybody in this room is in black, navy, or khaki. Ladies, how great would it be to be a guy just for a day? You're standing in front of your closet. What should I wear? Black, navy, khaki. Oh, it's so overwhelming. Here's the deal. The magic number for men is 3. The magic number for men is 3. Ironically, and I'm giving Rob a little, I'm talking smack to him here and giving him a hard time and busting his chops. But the reason that I got to know him yesterday is because before I ever even got to this slide, I was talking about men and women, and he said, I'm planning a wedding, my fiance's driving me crazy, and I just want to tell her, just give me 3 choices. She's coming to him with, here's all the different colors of flowers, here's all the different kinds of, whatever. And he's just like, just narrow it down to 3. And I said, oh my God, I have a slide on this exact same thing. Seriously, the magic number, and this is not, he doesn't know this because he's disabled. But, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But seriously, the magic number is 3. This is retail science. Retail science shows that men are most comfortable with this number. The 2 is not enough choice. 4 is too much, okay? 3 is a really good number for men. So, fun fact, men buy more electronics than any other consumer group. More than women, more than blacks, more than whites, more than Gen X, more than Gen Y. Any way you can slice and dice consumers, men as a whole buy more flat screens, more tablets, more phones, more stuff. Haven't you ever noticed that when you go shopping for electronics that all of the pricing is done in groups of 3? Best Buy perfected this with good, better, best. Right? And 99% of you guys are going to go for the middle one. Right? But as retailers, here's how you use these insights. When you are selling to a woman, you give her everything. You say, here's everything we got. Here's all of our models. Here's all of our colors. Here's all the ways you can trick them out. She can handle that. She's going to take that information. She can process it. And when she makes a decision, she's going to feel really, really good about it because she looked at everything. With a guy, you would start by saying, here's our 3 most popular boats. Here's our 3 best sellers. Here's our 3 most popular colors. Here's our 3 most popular equipment options. You know, whatever it is. 3 most popular, 3 best selling, whatever. If a guy wants more information, he will always ask for it, and you can always give him more. But start with 3, and you'd be amazed how far you're going to get. With Asian customers, anybody dealing with a high-density Asian population around them? Where are you? In BC. There you go. Okay, so you may know this then. You always present a business card with 2 hands to an Asian customer. Only in the United States do we take a business card. Does anybody have a business card on them? And only in the United States do we take seriously, the whole rest of the world is more respectful than we are. So that's okay, doesn't matter. Okay, so he hands it to me just like that, and I go, thanks. And if I'm a woman, I throw it in my purse. If I'm a guy, it's even worse. I'm like this, or God forbid, in the back pocket. Do not ever do that to an Asian customer. You are literally like, it's basically like saying I'm going to fart on your card. I'm serious. I'm completely serious. And look at the way he handed it to me. He literally handed it to me with 2 fingers. Nothing could be more casual than that, right? He didn't even look at it or whatever. The way that you present a business card to an Asian client is you present it with 2 hands, 2 fingers on the top, with the information facing the customer, okay, like this. And he accepts it with 2 hands, exactly. And then if you really want to blow their minds, then you also have to present it to me. Please. Ah, thank you, Rod, thank you. I see that you're the director of sales. Oh, and you're located in Michigan City, Indiana. I do know a friend in Indiana. The best thing to do is to actually study that card and to find something to say about it. It can be about the title. It can be about, oh, I see where you're located, whatever. But it is considered the ultimate respect to take the card, honor the card, by finding something to say about it, okay? And it doesn't have to be anything other than more than, oh, Indiana, I've always wanted to visit there, or something, okay? But you hand it with 2 hands, and you accept it with 2 hands, and then you do not do this, you do not do this, and you do not throw it in your purse. And in fact, if you're in a meeting, then the card stays out on the table the entire time throughout the meeting and is only put away at the end of the meeting. Thank you very much. So, again, this is just one of those cultural nuances that doesn't cost you a dime, but where's BC girl? There you are, taking notes? You got this? All right, you probably already know about this. And also, talking and presenting to both members of the couple, not just the man or the woman. Actually, I think this is good sense in any situation. When a couple is coming to you, believe me, they're going to make a decision about a boat together. They're going to go home and discuss it together. Don't leave one of them out, you know? With Hispanic customers, most Hispanic customers say that they value a relationship over a transaction. They are going to do business with people they like, all right? And most say that they appreciate being given all the time that they need to ask questions. You know, a lot of non-Hispanics, we're all about like speed and efficiency. I used to have a joke that was like, you know, actually, you can be pretty rude to me if you're fast. Because what I value is speed and efficiency over friendship. I got enough friends. You don't need to chat me up. Chop, chop, let's go, right? But most Hispanics say that, especially on a big-ticket item, they really appreciate being given all the time that they need to ask questions. We see this with Toyota all the time. And many will prefer a face-to-face meeting, and they don't really want to, like, you know, come in and do business over the phone, et cetera. And great customer service trumps mistake. This is a free insight, folks, and this one's big because who amongst us doesn't make mistakes? You're going to make mistakes. Your people are going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. It's part of life. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you've got a customer who forgives you your trespasses? And here's how it works. You know Chick-fil-A? You guys know that brand? And Payless Shoes? You know those receipts that you get that'll say on the bottom of the receipt, take our online survey and get $2 off your next sandwich or something like that. The company that does that wanted to find out seriously and definitively if Hispanics had different customer service perceptions than non-Hispanics. They surmised that they did, but they didn't actually know it. So they did a study with using Chick-fil-A, so multi-unit fast food place, with Payless Shoes, multi-unit retailer, to determine whether this was the case. And what they found in a nutshell is that, I'll take Chick-fil-A. If Hispanic consumers came into Chick-fil-A and felt like they'd been given the red carpet, I looked at you, I made eye contact with you, I smiled at you, I said, welcome to Chick-fil-A. I'm ready to take your order whenever you're ready. And if you have any questions on the menu, here's the whole menu board, and I can handle any questions that you might have too. If you need a recommendation, I can tell you what we're known for and what we're famous for. I'm ready whenever you are. Is there anything else I can get you? I mean, just basic, great customer service, but essentially making these customers feel like they were absolutely the most important customer of the day, right? So what they found is when Hispanic customers were red carpeted like that, but then you forgot the fries, or the sandwich was cold, Hispanic customers still gave Chick-fil-A incredibly high marks for customer service, even though the order was wrong. Even though they screwed up, and they're missing their fries, or their sandwich was cold, they still said, oh my gosh, that was great customer service. Non-Hispanic customers of any race or ethnicity, black, white, Asian, Native American, ha, you forget my fries, you suck, okay? Seriously, harsh, like no forgiveness whatsoever. Doesn't matter how nice you are to me, I wanted my fries. Wow. You know, totally nailed them on the scores, right? Isn't this a great insight to know? Because you're going to make mistakes. Your people are going to make mistakes. It happens. Red carpet, you're the heck out of all of your customers, but your Hispanic customers, that goes a long way. With African American consumers, you definitely want to show people of color in ads and all of your marketing materials. I personally think that everybody should be doing this anyway because we are not a white world anymore. Okay? But diversity of skin tone is very important. 70% of African Americans say that it's very important to them to see diversity of skin tone in an ad. Not all blacks are black. Black, like dark-skinned. Most black people have friends and people in their family and social networks who are every shade, from very light-skinned to very dark-skinned. And so they like to see the diversity of skin tone. And you should always try to connect, or never try to connect on a superficial level. We were doing a focus group with African Americans one time a couple years ago, and one woman, she's black, of course, she was participant in this focus group. She was talking about how she went to buy a washer and a dryer. And so she went to Best Buy or Home Depot or Lowe's or, you know, wherever you go. And the sales associate who was working with her was white, and she's black. And she said, he's taking me through all the features and benefits of the washing machine. And then all of a sudden he switched the conversation and he started talking to me about Jay-Z and Beyonce. And she's like, seriously? Really? And she's like, now I know what he was trying to do. You know, he was trying to connect with me on some level or whatever. And she's like, I don't want to talk music with this guy. I want to talk spin cycle, right? So sell her a washing machine. Don't worry about trying to become a friend, you know. With Asian Indian consumers, I already said that, so I don't want this to be of confusion. If you're from India, then your race is Asian, your ethnicity is Indian. So I just want to talk about Asian Indians because I don't want to say Indian and then you think Native American. So Asian Indian consumers, the way to market effectively is by really pushing value and affordability. And the reason, and also transparency. And when I say transparency, I mean you have absolutely nothing to lose by giving every real piece of information out there, good, bad, or ugly, about warranties, products, fees, extra charges, delivery dates. Be 100% transparent. Here's why. In the United States and in Canada, we enjoy tremendous consumer protections. Protections that protect all of us from being ripped off by companies. If a company rips you off, you have resources and recourse in the United States to make it right. It doesn't always work like that in other parts of the world, particularly in India. So consequently, many Indians come to the United States and they have a very healthy sense of skepticism about whether what you say is actually true. Because in their country, it may or may not be true. It's a crapshoot. And if it's not true, I don't necessarily have any legal recourse, you know, or whatever. So consequently, one of the things that you want to do is promote that your dealerships are legally sound, right? Because that promotes that you're the good guys and that you are, in fact, very, very stable. Also, you can present that stability with things like, we've been in business for 25 years, or, you know, with more than 20 years of experience. I mean, what that demonstrates and communicates is stability, we're here to stay, we're not a fly-by-night operation. You know, you guys are not selling a piece of gum here, you're selling boats. That's a big, expensive proposition. And promote any awards or accolades that you've won, because again, that kind of shows you're the good guys and you're stable. The concept is that of 3 cups of tea. Has anybody here ever heard of this concept of 3 cups of tea? Okay. It's a metaphor. I'm not suggesting that you offer all of your customers 3 cups of tea. You can. But what it is a metaphor, and this is for most cultures around the world. It's absolutely true for the Indian culture, but I would also say it's true for the Hispanic culture, that the business relationship takes time. It's a little bit longer. The idea is that the first cup of tea is always shared as strangers, the second cup of tea is shared as friends, and the third cup of tea, by the third cup of tea, your family. Again, it's a metaphor. But what happens is the United States, we're all about business moving fast. I come in, I look at a boat, me and my husband look at a boat with you, maybe we come back another time or two, but then we make a decision. Boom, we're either going to buy it or not. It's not going to drag out for 8 months, okay? With other cultures, it can. And in working with Toyota, I definitely found this. That a lot of their salespeople would be very frustrated because they'd be like, oh my gosh, here comes the XYZ family again. They've been in 5 times. And they were thinking that they were never going to sell this family. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. The more interaction that they had, the more likely they were to sell. It just takes a little bit longer. So be patient with other cultures, because recognize that in other cultures, it takes, metaphorically, 3 cups of tea to actually form that relationship. It's not just something right away. Does that make sense? Okay. And adapt your marketing. We're using contemporary images. And I already talked about diversity and skin tone. I think that's really important. On your website, on your marketing pieces, you should be showing all kinds of people. But also, contemporary images isn't just limited to different colors of skin. Did you know that 40% of people 18 to 35 have 4 or more tattoos? 40% of people 18 to 35 have 4 or more tattoos. 60-some% have a tattoo. My point is, if the majority of an entire population, by that I mean Gen Y, has ink, then at some point, shouldn't you be showing people with ink? Because that's what people look like. And the reality is, in marketing, we all gravitate to images that we relate to. There is a reason why every ad that you will ever see for financial services for retirement features people with gray hair. Because at that stage of your life, that's what you're thinking about. So we all relate to people who look like us. And so, consequently, at some point, you're going to have to start featuring people who have ink, because that's what people look like. I saw my first ad that had this with Coldwell Banker. If you're in the real estate business, then the high potential prospect is the first-time homeowner, right? Because they haven't formed a relationship with any broker yet or any real estate company. So you guys have all seen this ad. It's like nauseatingly common, right? It doesn't matter who it's for. The young, happy couple standing in front of the sold sign, and there's a house behind them, and they're like, right? First house. So in this particular ad for Coldwell Banker, they had the young, happy couple in their late 20s, early 30s standing in front of the sold sign or standing next to the sold sign with the house in the back, and clearly they just bought the house. And the guy's wearing a T-shirt, and, so the T-shirt comes to here, and then the whole rest of his arm is a sleeve of ink. And I'm like, they didn't make any comment about it, but I was like, good for them. They're actually showing what somebody who's 30 years old looks like, who has a sleeve. So contemporary images, and understand that mobile is hot. Last year, 25 billion, yes, that's billion with a B, apps were downloaded. 25 billion apps were downloaded, okay? So the reality is, if your website has not been optimized for mobile, that is an opportunity that you're missing, because I promise you that 36 months from now, no one is going to be carrying around anything that looks like that laptop up there. There's a reason why all of you have your iPads or your phones, and you're taking notes on this. Sometimes the phone is too small. It's a little, and a laptop is way too clunky, right? So we are going to mobile. We are all going to mobile. Everybody here has a smartphone. Half of you have your iPads out or whatever. This isn't going to exist in the future. So if you have ever tried to open up a website that has not been optimized for mobile on your smartphone, it's a drag, right? It loads slowly. The graphics are too heavy. Okay, websites today aren't even being built that aren't optimized for mobile. But if yours is not, if your website is older or you're not sure, call your provider and just get that changed. It'll cost you nothing. I mean, it's nothing. And it's super, super important. And pay attention to trends. In the same way that I said that I think you're duty-bound as business people to keep your eye on what's going on demographically around you, you have to keep your eye on trends, too. Social is absolutely everything. And I'm not talking about social media here. I'm talking about our ability and our desire to stay connected on a social level. So what's your name? Tad. I'm going to call you Mike, okay? All right, so Tad and I, Tad/Mike, go with me here. The Pepsi's trying to change this. Is there anything that is less social than doing business with a vending machine? No. You go up, you put your money in, you press a button, and it dispenses something. Gum, candy, soft drink. No human interaction required. Well, Pepsi's actually trying to change that with the Pepsi social machine. I don't know if you've seen one of these. They're pretty amazing. You go up, you swipe your card, and I push my Diet Pepsi, and I get my Diet Pepsi, and the next question to ask me is, do you want to send your friend a drink? Totally. I totally want to send Tad a drink. Oh my gosh, we're friends. Tad is having a rough week. This guy could use a drink. I'm going to put a smile on his face. He's about to get fired and he doesn't even know it. I am going to send him a drink, okay? So I am going to swipe my card again. And because Tad and I are friends and I've got his number in my phone, then I just go ahead and I put his number into the Pepsi social machine. I've just paid another $1 for this. And shazam! He gets a text message that says, "Hi, Tad. Kelly sent you a gift. Use this code to redeem at the nearest Pepsi social vending unit, code 1234 enjoy." How cool is that? This is what I call surprise and delight. And it's surprise and delight for both Tad and I. Because I was just going to go up and get myself a drink. And all of a sudden I get this question that says, "Do you want to send your friend a drink?" That is going to be fun. I don't even have to live in the same city or be in the same country with Tad to know that it's going to be fun for him to get a drink from me, right? So it put a smile in a delightful way on my face. I know it's also going to surprise and delight Tad because he's going to be sitting in some boring meeting somewhere and he's going to get a cool message under the table that says, "Kelly bought you a drink," right? I'm waiting for them to come up with a margarita machine, Tad. That's going to be our machine. Yeah, absolutely, right? So this is really, really, really smart. Plus, how many people don't redeem that code and they got your money, right? 90%. So, also, understand the difference between trends and fads. Fads come and go. Think fashion. Fads come and go. Trends don't come and go. Trends are shifts. Trends are movements, okay? So, think about the umbrella. I want you to think about the shape of the umbrella right now in your mind. The umbrella design has not changed in hundreds of years. Absolutely hundreds of years. It hasn't had to. It's perfect the way it is. Think about that. What other product can you say that about, right? The umbrella has not changed in hundreds of years. If you watch an old movie with, merry old England in the 1600s with people walking around in London in the pouring rain, their umbrellas look just like the one that's in your car. So the umbrella hasn't changed until now. Whoa, wrong example. Sorry, hang on, let me see if I got this. Oops, sorry, I have the wrong picture here. I'm so sorry. The umbrella hasn't changed until now. What we have now is an umbrella that has finger grips. And the reason you have finger grips is so that you can walk in the rain and text at the same time. Because if you've ever tried to hold an umbrella in your hands with your phone in the rain, you can't do it. But it's got finger grips, like a golf club, so now you can actually hold that umbrella firmly. Because God knows we are not going to stop texting just because it's raining, right? And speaking of texting and sharing, I don't know if you've seen the selfie stick. Have you seen the selfie stick? This is sweeping Europe, and it's now in the United States, but you can buy these anywhere. They're amazing. They're about $30. Because all of us take selfies, right? But the reason we take selfies is because it's about sharing. It's about sharing. And if you've ever taken a selfie and you want to make yourself look hideous, then hold that phone down here, okay? Because you'll have like 20 chins, and it's just nasty, okay? Every one of us looks amazing up here, right? But I'm only 5'7", so my arm is only so long. So the higher I go, the better I look. And the further out I go, the better I look, right? So my arm has limitations, and there's only so high I can go. That thing extends it out another 6 feet. I look amazing with a selfie taken with a selfie stick. So why wouldn't you want to offer selfie sticks as a boat dealer to your customers? Because won't they be out on a boat taking pictures of themselves on their boat with their friends? Plus, you can actually get more people in a selfie with a selfie stick, right? The Ellen DeGeneres picture that was seen all around the world, right at the Academy Awards. One of the most amazing, there was several amazing things about it. Number one, the people in that picture. Amazing that she got that group together. Number two, everybody looked good, right? Isn't usually one person like with their eyes closed or, kind of going like this or whatever. Everybody looked amazing. But the most important thing to me that was amazing about it was she got a large group in there. She got a big group. That's hard to do when you can't get the phone that far out. Okay? I don't know how she did it. She must have like super long arms or something. I don't know. But she got this amazing selfie with a large group. This helps people take a larger group picture. It's called a selfie stick. You can get them anywhere. It's one of the hottest things that's happening in hospitality right now. I just did a presentation for the Utah Governor's Conference on Tourism. We got talking about this in some of the hotels in Salt Lake City, and as they go into ski season in Park City and stuff like that, when people check into their high-end hotels during ski season and they're getting $350 a night, believe me, they can afford to absorb a $20 selfie stick, and they're saying, "Hi, welcome to our hotel. Here's a selfie stick that you can use while you're here." Oh, how awesome, because I'm going to take a ton of pictures of me and my friends skiing. And your phone attaches to it out there, and then it's also got a way you can press the button, because how do you press the button when it's 8 feet away, right? Isn't that the coolest thing? Anybody have one? You have one? Do you love it? Does it, make you look amazing? I mean, you'll be like the hottest thing in the world when you're like, "Oh, check me out with my selfie stick." And the first time you ever see one of these on the street, but people using them, you're thinking like, freaks, but then you're like, I want one. Like, freak, where do I get one? Yeah? All right. Be the good guys. I talked about this in my session yesterday too, and I know that you already are the good guys. You already are the good guys. Every one of you is a local business doing business locally, supporting your local community. But market that. Don't keep that to yourself. Have a page on your website that demonstrates and markets your social consciousness, whether you're going green at your dealership and you're simply recycling and doing things like that, whether you're doing a blood drive at your local, or having a blood drive locally at your dealership, once a quarter or once a year, whether you're donating your old computers to a local school. Schools are broke these days, folks. Schools are broke. Their budgets are jacked. They don't have enough money. Anything you can do for a local school makes you the good guys. Anything. Scholarships. What about picking up the beaches, right? There's a no-brainer. You guys are into the environment. You're beach people. You're water people. Picking up trash, organizing a pick-up trash day or whatever. Just be the good guys. You're already doing all this stuff. Just market it. And a couple of key values with millennials, they really care about this with being the good guys. 18 to 35-year-olds, that's the definition of millennial, feel that the brands that they choose are improving society. They want to do business with brands that they don't just feel have a good product and a good price, but that they're like the good guys. They want to feel good about that process. And millennial women, 92% of them say that they want to buy from a company that supports a cause. Could be anything. Could be save the whales, save the dolphins, save the kids, save whatever, anything. Just support a cause. Stand for something, which, again, you already do. You guys give charitable giving and all that kind of stuff. Just let people know. It's important. Also, cultivate your pilot fish. I don't know if you've heard about this concept, but this is one of those concepts that once I learned about it, it's really remarkable to see it in action. If you've ever watched a school of fish swim, it doesn't matter whether that school of fish is, thousands of fish or millions of fish. They do something remarkable. They swim and swim and swim, and then they turn. And they turn on a dime. All of them. Okay? It's not like some of the fish swim and turn like this and some of the rest are over here and they're going to catch up in a minute. They all work and they make these incredibly sharp turns. Scientists have studied this and they're like, how do they know when to turn? Because they all do it. How do fish communicate? And what they have found, believe it or not, is at the front of that school of fish, usually invisible to your eye, is a pilot fish. Literally, there's a fish that's in charge. He's the fish that is like, we're going left, and everybody goes, okay? Fish, pilot fish, all the rest are followers. So the correlation to human behavior is anytime you get a group of 3 people or more together, any group, could be 3 people at this table right here if I said work amongst you as a team. Could be your poker buddies, your church buddies, your workout buddies, 3 people in the cube next to you at work. Doesn't matter. Any group of 3 people, socially or in business, whatever, any group of 3, one of them will emerge as a pilot fish. They may not even know they're a pilot fish. It's not like they're beating their chest going, I'm such a leader. But what they are is somewhat influential. They are an opinion leader. They influence. And so the point is you have pilot fish all around you. Some of your employees are pilot fish, right? Have you ever had the employee where everybody else is grumbling in the hallways about something and then one employee goes, well, it's really not that bad. It's actually a really pretty good thing because we're doing this, this, and this. And everybody goes, oh, okay. Because they're like influential, right? They kind of like set the group straight. People will listen to them. You can have an employee who's a pilot fish. You can have a customer who's a pilot fish. You can have vendors and suppliers who are pilot fish. Cultivate your pilot fish. And if you're fortunate enough to have a customer who is an amazing customer, talk to them and say, how do we get more people just like you? You've been a great customer of ours for years. We're clearly doing something right. I would love to know more about why you do business with us and why you don't do business with our competitors, because I would like to get more people just like you. They will tell you. They will tell you what you need to know. And that's a conversation that doesn't cost you a dime, and you can have it on an ongoing basis. Be fearless. I think marketing to people not like you requires some stones. I do. Because this is the hardest thing. This is the hardest strategy, in my opinion. Because when times are good, why in the world would you try something different? Business is booming, right? Whatever we're doing is working. Why mess with that? When times are bad, well, then that's kind of tough because, like, how do we know if what we do is going to work? And then what if we blow our budget on that and it doesn't work and we don't have any more budget? I think this is the hardest strategy. But if you believe that in your heart and soul that something is the right thing to do, no matter how weird or unconventional it is, follow your instincts. Your instincts are there to protect you, and you are all smart, successful people with good instincts. So follow those instincts, okay? So let me give you an example. Does anybody here have a Harley? You have a Harley? You have a Harley? Hands up. Harley. Wow, good for you. Okay, wait. One over here, And, all right, so 3 women and 1 guy? There's only 1 guy that's got a Harley, right? Okay, but everybody knows the brand, right? So Harley has been in a world of hurting for the last few years because in times of economic recession, people don't go out and buy Harleys, right? It's a $50,000 vehicle, and most people have another way of getting to work, okay? And, I mean, seriously, it's not primary transportation. So Harley, furthermore, their core market has always been, you've got the Harley, right? Has always been middle-aged, white, affluent, baby boomer dudes. So, like that guy. Yeah, middle-aged, white, affluent, baby boomer dudes. Pretty much every middle-aged, white, affluent, baby boomer dude who ever wanted a Harley got one. And they are literally aging out. A lot of these guys are aging to the point where they're selling their bikes or storing their bikes. They're not buying new bikes. So Harley has been going, who in the heck can we get as our customer for the future? These guys are aging out. So they looked at Hispanics and African Americans, and they were like, no, they don't index all that high in the purchase of motorcycles. There's probably not that much opportunity there. And then they looked at young people, and they were like, no, young people don't think Harley's cool because every time they see a Harley, there's some guy with a long gray ponytail on the back, and that's not cool, that's dad, right? So they're like, who can we get? And they landed on, what about women? I find it very interesting that of the 4 people in here who have a Harley, that 3 of them are women, okay? And sure enough, Harley found that, yes, there's a sizable group of women who actually have expressed interest in learning how to ride. But their number 1 barrier for buying a Harley motorcycle is, quite simply, I don't know how to ride. If I don't know how to ride, what's the likelihood that I'm going to go strolling on into a Harley-Davidson dealership on Saturday and say, show me a bike? 0. So they were like, let's go organically. We got to start at the bottom here. We got to teach these women how to ride. Because some of these women, if they fall in love with riding, they will then fall in love with Harley, right? So we're going to teach them how to ride in a no sales pressure environment. So they started offering clinics at the dealerships on Saturdays, free clinics with a class taught by a woman. If you have ever wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle, this is your chance. No sales pressure. There's no F&I guy sitting in the corner ready to run your credit score. It's not like that. This is your chance to just come on out and learn how to ride a motorcycle. So the class is taught by a woman so that these women don't have to feel stupid about their questions. They have the right size bikes, right? Ladies, where are my Harley ladies, right? Because these bikes weigh 900 pounds, some of them seriously, and the women weigh 140. They can't even lift them, so they got to get the right size bike scaled to a woman's body and her weight, okay? They have a fashion show, because Harley is just as much about the apparel as it is about the bikes. And, of course, they have refreshments, because we ladies don't go anywhere unless there's snacks, right? So in addition to the class that was taught by a woman with the right size bikes and the fashion show and the snacks, they also offered free pole dancing lessons. Yeah, that guy drifted, but he's back. he's like, tell me about the pole dancing. Yes, I mean pole dancing. Pole dancing. So I'm not suggesting that you need to do this at your dealership, okay? I don't want you to walk out here and go, Kelly said we have to do pole dancing at the marina. No, it's not like it. But hopefully what you can see is why this was right for Harley, because what Harley determined is that the kind of woman who wants to ride a motorcycle and a Harley, it is not about her demographic descriptions. It is not about age, sex, income, zip code, all that. It's about something up here and something in here. It's about a spirit. She is the kind of woman who likes to try new things. She is the kind of woman who likes adventure. She is the kind of woman who really likes an adrenaline rush. And she is the kind of woman who has a great sense of humor about herself and does not take herself too seriously, and she has a lot of confidence. She is the kind of woman who would watch 5 minutes of pole dancing and be like, let me up there, I'll show you how it's done, right? So again, hopefully you can see why this is right for Harley. Do you guys get it? But here's my deal. This is in the section of Be Fearless. Despite the fact that you understand how right this is for Harley, and anybody with a brain kind of goes, okay, that makes sense for that brand, they are still a bureaucratic organization like anybody else. You go to their headquarters in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, people are stabbing each other in the back and jockeying for position, trying to get ahead. Imagine the guts that it took for someone at Harley to raise their hand in a meeting corporately and go, I have an idea. Pole dancing at the dealerships, right? People get shot for ideas like that in corporate America. Someone had to have the cojones to not only have the idea but speak up about it, and then management had to have the cojones to go, that's a great idea. It's a little weird, but it's a good idea. What do we have to do to make that happen? So follow your instincts, because the women's market has single-handedly saved Harley. They've single-handedly saved Harley. But the way you go after it with this particular buyer requires a little bit of, unconventional thinking. And lastly, I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I can't emphasize this enough. Helping beats selling. If you help me, you will sell me. And you are selling a high-ticket item. I need to understand it. I need to understand how it benefits me and my family, etc. So if you can help me, you will sell me. We were doing focus groups one time with a group, and one young guy, I think he was about 28 years old, he said, we don't need any more information. We have this thing called the internet. It's got more information out there than I could ever take in my life. We need advice. And this is where I think you as dealers and you as boating professionals absolutely have 100% job security because, again, information is out there. But that's not what people want. What they want is a guide. They want somebody to say, I understand what you're looking for, you and your family. I understand your budget parameters. I understand what you're trying to accomplish with your leisure time, whatever. Let me show you a few things here, and let me show you why these would be right for you and not this over that, etc. Helping beats selling. So I think we're out of time. I'm going to skip this part. Just wrapping up as I want to be respectful of your time. Pay attention to the shifting demographics and, more importantly, the values of the customers and the community that you serve. I believe that today, meaningful marketing isn't about trying to label you by the color of your skin or the shape of your eyes or even your gender. I promise you that if I can figure out what you value, I can figure out how to get into your wallet. Because people spend money on what they value. That's a fact. People spend money on what they value. So if you work on finding out what somebody cares about, where are their priorities, what do they value, that is the way to their wallet. People will always spend money on what they value. So, shameless self-promotion. Liz mentioned I have a book. It's right over there. This book, Crafting the Customer Experience for People Not Like You, is amazing. It's 170 pages. As she mentioned, it was number 5 on the business book bestseller list. And I've got copies here that if you want one, I'll sign it for you. It's $20. If you've got a best-selling book signed by a best-selling author, then you know that sucker's worth $1 million on eBay when you go to resell it, right? So thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.